Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to paint this. This is called the Breezeway in Gloucester and Rocky Neck. It's called that because it's very cool on the hottest day and you're looking for a place to paint. It's a great place to go. All right, I'm going to add a sailboat in the back there. That was that little piece of gouache I was putting in there. All right, here's the drawing, just the horizon, piece of land in the back. There's that little cliff with the mountain of trees on top. Pretty simple drawing, really. Big shapes. Always, focus on the big shapes and you'll always have a strong painting. The details really don't make the painting, but it's those big shapes that really create the drama. All right, so there's the drawing. Go in, you might want to mark the, to break up that cliff, those pieces of stone that are beautiful. There's rocks on the beach here that I'm laying out, but really don't need to draw those in. You can just paint them in with your brush. There's the beach, the rocks going down on the beach. All right, here's where you may want to just make a note of how you're breaking up all that beautiful stone. It's very beautiful there. There's always that nice breeze. All right, you don't need much here. As I say, just mark off the big shapes and use it. This is just a guide, Okay, let's get to the painting. We'll start in the sky. I'm just wetting the sky here. Make it nice and juicy and wet. And then I'm just dropping in some cobalt blue, maybe a little touch of cobalt blue teal on the horizon line. And then I'm going to do the same thing in the water, only I added a little more cobalt blue, make it a little bit darker value. Water is reflecting the sky. It's usually reflecting it a little darker. And I added a little cobalt blue towards the beach line to warm up the water as it comes towards the shore. Okay, and the beach is the sand color. Sand is always the same. It's raw sienna with rose, and then add cobalt blue to the point where it grays down, and you can decide what you like as a beach line. I'm making a notation out here for a schooner that I did with, I was trying to show you with the gouache. Sometimes you can just mark up the photo. All right, I'm using cobalt blue here with a little touch of raw sienna in the back. I'm keeping it more on the blue side, nice and cool back there, painting around that schooner. All right, so that's that piece of land on the other side of the bay. All right, I'm putting in the dark edges of the rocks. This is ultramarine blue with quinsienna. And I'm pushing it towards the quinsienna. Keep it nice and warm. You don't want it to be black, really. You want to keep a nice color in there. All right, there's a big rock out in the water. But this bottom edge of the cliff, very dark. Just spotting in some rocks here and there. The whole baseline. Ultramarine blue and quinsienna. As I say, I push it towards the quinsienna. I like to keep it nice and warm. And that's the edge of there's part of this section of the cliff that comes forward here. It's in front of the other cliff, so I'm just adding a separation. All right, I'm going along the top of that dark line with really quinacridone sienna and some raw sienna. Up here I'm using just raw sienna much more water, you can see. Just go all along, let it run together. And this is the section I was speaking about that's in front. You can see how beautiful that stone is. It's really nice and warm. So I love the quince sienna. It's a beautiful, beautiful warm color. That looks a little dark, but I will add some. I mean, a little black. I like to see it more red. So there's the quinacridone sienna. I'm restating that along that black line, along that dark line of the base, and then letting it run down. Adding a little more here and there. Right on the top of that dark line, I'm just putting just splashing in some quince sienna here and there, and then just, spreading it out. A little bit of cobalt blue as well. Just some cool spots, working it together. Okay, as that dries, I'm adding the trees. The trees here are ultramarine blue with a little bit of raw sienna. And when you're doing this whole section of trees, it's all one shape, but so what you want to do is vary it by adding, changing the greens. This was ultramarine with raw sienna. Now I'm pushing the raw sienna, add a drop of Aurelian yellow here and there. I don't try to paint separate trees in this case. All right, that's the section. As it gets higher, it's getting a little more light up there, so I'm adding a little more Aurelian yellow, a little more raw sienna. You can see the change in the greens, and that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for some nice change. And then over to the right, where it's closer to the rocks, I'm going back to the ultramarine blue and raw sienna. Get a little darker shape there, and that breaks up that big shape of green. Okay, just breaks that whole thing up, and you also painting a negative shape against the rocks. You can see that separates that section in the foreground. All right, so those trees are growing down into the rocks, and that's what we want to do. We want to really break up that sharp edge of the rocks where it meets the trees. You want to break that up in a lot of it, not all of it, but you want to break a lot of that up by just pushing the greens down onto the rocks and into the rocks. And notice I did it with a lighter value there, so you can see the raw sienna coming through the green. So it looks like it's growing over it. All right, there's a big section here, so I'm starting with the darker green and then adding some more water to that, maybe a little raw sienna, and just spreading it out. A beautiful little scene. It's a beautiful place to paint plein air because of that nice cool breeze. And the beautiful view of the ocean, And I'm just going along here and scuffing up the rocks a little bit with a very light value, leaving some of that bright color shining through. Just creating different sections. Okay, just adding little cracks and crevices. All right, I'm going back into the water now, and I'm just taking that same color, same value. This is cobalt blue, primarily in the back, and I'm adding a little bit of the cobalt blue teal as it comes forward. But all horizontal lines here, creating some nice movement in the ocean. You always paint the water in layers so that you can let some of that light shine through. and just bring that right down. You can see a little bit of that cobalt blue teal, and basically doing the same thing here on the beach, taking some of that darker color, warmer brown, and just moving it along, you know, and then just taking some water and softening it. Added a little bit of ultramarine, a little bit of that sienna. And then when it dries here, you can add the rest of these rocks and stones that are out, you know, and this, you can really do this at your discretion. There's, you know, whatever's good for you. There's a big rock here. Important thing is to not make them the same. You know, you can change the color a little bit, you can change the value, certainly the size, you know, make them very different. You know, use your credit card if you want to create some texture on these rocks. You know, it's fine to do that. A little bit of seaweed here and there. These are messy beaches, you know, where the tide comes in and out a few times a day and drops, you know, all this different stuff on the beach. So you want to make it, you know, and I'm just spreading it out. Okay, that's a beautiful scene, you know, it really is. This is in Rocky Neck, where I had my gallery for 25 years. I just finishing up with a couple of seagulls. Everybody laughs at me when I put in the seagulls, but this is just so much a part of the area. I always enjoy doing it. Always enjoy having them accompany me while I'm painting. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed that scene, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.